ready. We're prepared. Do not give in to fear. We are fearless. This is not the time to be afraid. This is a time to stand up and fight back and to resist any temptation for them to divide us. We're in this together. The rule of law is on our side. We will not give in, not give up. We will not capitulate. We will not bow. We will not bend. We will survive.
It's very simple how to operate money. $3, $3 million, $3 billion come in. $3 comes in. The first dollar goes for what you have to pay for your rent or medicine or whatever the case is. The second goes for an investment, whether in a public company or your education, but not a loan, what you have right there. And the third goes for what you would like to have but don't have to have. If you don't spend all number three, you put it into number two, right? Number two eventually overflows into 1 and 3. But as hardworking Americans, what do? We're going to number 3 first because we want to treat ourselves. We work really hard. We never get to number 2, and then we pay 18% credit card on number 1.
That's Daymond John, of course. We've interviewed him. We've done a town hall. He's now on Shark Tank, given a simple math, and I think it's time for us to really reimagine what that looks like for ourselves individually and collectively. I think we're doing a lot in terms of how we're spending our money. We have sent a message to corporate America, and I think it's a very strong one. I mentioned this week that the American Teachers Federation is joining in this Target boycott, which I think is both interesting and powerful. It's the largest teachers organization in the country, and it is, it's school back to school, and a lot of teachers have used Target as where they get their supplies and things, and now that's going to be a big hit. But we don't have to spend money in places. We get to. And I'm really proud and happy that you guys, first of all, pay for radio. If you're listening to me, you pay for radio, and that's something you don't have to do. So that matters greatly to us here at Urban View. You support our advertisers. That matters greatly. And all of us who are doing different things, whether it's Clay Cane's books now, you made it a New York Times bestseller, and I'm sure the same thing's going to happen with the second book. Loree Daniel Favors as well. Her podcast is popping. Loree breaks it down. That's because, and that costs you nothing, just listening to that. And Karen Hunter is awesome and everything on the Women's Empowerment Network. Thank you. And The Global Majority, something that I envisioned when I first started as a way of connection. I imagine us being out in the streets and being able to look at each other and what we're wearing and know who we are as a result of what we have on our bodies. And that has not disappointed. The last time I was in the airport, I was heading to Galveston, and there were a couple of ladies wearing Global Majority, and I knew that they were with me. And it felt good, when I go through the airport and I see people, they recognize the gear sometimes before they recognize me. And it's amazing. All of the authors that have been on the show, when they have their book signings, they say people come in, they show up in their Nubia gear and they show up in their Global Majority gear. And it's almost like not a uniform, but it is a badge of like, we belong. We are part of something greater than ourselves. So let me welcome, and I want to have a deeper conversation than just about clothes and this new drop and everything. He is my partner, recent partner in the Global Majority, and growing by leaps and bounds. As I was listening to Daymond John, the amount of investment, like a lot of times we were just talking about land, you have in your mind, oh, I'll get this land for $1, but then you got to put $200,000 in, and then is it worth it? And we don't do the math beforehand. So we end up underwater before we even get started because we got this land for $1, but it's never really $1. Everything is a lot more complicated. And a lot of us think I could just start a business because I got my mama's recipe, but there's a lot more that goes into running a business. And what I was saying to Rick when we first met is I didn't want to necessarily be in the t-shirt business. I want to be in the ideas business, in the community building business, and these shirts, the t-shirts and hoodies and things can become part of that. But then I found out ended up in the business, and so I had to learn it. So let me welcome Rick Martin to the Karen Hunter Show. Welcome back. Hello to you.
Hello,
Founder of DigiDrop.
Yes.
Yes.
And you're definitely full-fledged into the business now. So that ship has definitely sailed.
let me say, I was in a conference today. One of the person that does my money, that I meet with every month, she was doing this empowerment conference today. So I was in it, and a lot of it was about imagining the kind of life you want to live. And Tiffany Aliche, Get Good with Money, talks about her 99-year-old self. She's named her, I think it was like Ethel or something. Mine, I'm gonna be Karen till the day I close my eyes. But I always talk about the things I'm doing in my personal finances is for a 99-year-old Karen, and I know how I want her to live, and I know how I want her to move about the cabin and the kind of freedom that she wants. So the things that I'm doing now will impact that. So I'm always thinking about that. And then I have another responsibility because I have these businesses that aren't quite businesses. I'm not the normal business person because I'm not in it. We just had this conversation. I had another meeting this week for money, as I was sharing with some of the people who work with us, this month advertising is down, but the audience is up. So this is not even capitalism. Do you know what I'm saying? And I can't prove it, right? But I know that, I was not able to take any money this month because of the lack, because we have so many people that we have to pay, and we got healthcare and all this stuff. And I'm always going to center the people that make this work over, I can go without for a month or two. Do you know what I'm saying? Because fortunately, I have other things. I have a pension, and those things have given me the freedom and flexibility to not be so centered on, I got to make a profit. And it's the same if you and I were in this and it was just about a profit from the door, I probably wouldn't still be doing this. But I'm so excited when I see people happy with their gear. It does something for me. And I realized early on that I am not driven by money. So it makes it easier to move about this world with a different kind of purpose. And I don't know how people who only think about bottom line, I don't know how they live, but it can't be as fulfilling as what I'm doing right now. I'm just going to say that. So I wanted to have you in today primarily because, number one, when is this drop ending? Because I didn't tell you when it should end, or like,
Saturday the 13th.
okay, so we got another week. Okay. All right. Let me put that on my calendar because I got a couple of more things to buy before. And I keep getting these email because I see every email that comes through. I'm CC'd on them. And a lot of people want to know, what about Stay Ready, which I'm wearing now, or I want Octavia Butler. And Octavia Butler was the first relationship thing that we produced together a couple of years ago. And I'm like, it's a drop. That concept is still foreign to people who I know understand the Telfar drop. Why is it a disconnect with this? What is so hard to understand? When it's done, it's done. There's never going to be another Octavia Butler. And I'm trying to tell people, get your stuff, because even with this, while we have this particular drop is, what is it called, Rick? Is it the summer drop, or is it?
Well, actually,
Summer's almost over.
we have several collections in one. So
Okay.
the first, we focus on the ladies, which is ladies first, where it's a combination of premium athleisure with activewear. We're looking at the women in our audience and our family. They're super active. From going to work, working out. Going to the store, going out to dinner with the hubby, taking a walk, taking a run, like yourself. Like right now, you're getting super fit. I'm so proud of you. You get up early in the morning, hitting the gym, doing your thing. I think this collection for you and I, what we really wanted to do, well, there's two things we want to do. No matter what category we enter into, we want to make sure the bar is always raised high. So you and I discussed, since you're saying, hey, Rick, I'm working out, I want to make sure all I do is wear my own stuff. And then you and I decided to say, let's get into this activewear space, but let's do it properly. So you and I, we spend time on R&D. R&D, basically, people listening, that's research and development. So every piece that we introduce, we research it, develop it, wash it, beat it up. As Karen would do, she'd wash it, not paying attention to the instructions.
Nope. I wash in the hot water.
Hot
I
water.
know. I wash in the hot water. Super hot. Yes, I put all of the detergents on it. It's not. I read no label. I washed it the way I wash everything, and some stuff faded. It was fine. It looked vintage. make sure the materials hold up. But
Yes.
as and I talk to you so often that it's like weird talking to you on the radio. So I have to admit that first of all, because we have conversations. Because for me, it's never going to be. I never want to be in business with people I can't be friends with,
Correct.
and that's important. I never want to be in business with people I don't like and respect. I never, and some people are like, what's about the money? It doesn't matter. It matters. It matters deeply because I think everything is spiritual. So if I'm putting energy into something, I need to know that the person that I'm putting energy into my lifeblood in understands and respects that and also feels what I'm feeling, even if you don't understand all of the reasons. I think that is so important. And I think we need to reimagine what business looks like in 2025 and beyond. Now that we're in this historical bubble, because we're in history, we're living in a historical period that will be remembered forever, and I think there's an opportunity in it to also change the game around how we support, how we spend our money with one another, what that should look like, and even in creating this, that the idea is not just, oh, we're going to put out some clothes, wear some t-shirts. No, we are I'm hoping to set the foundation for, that we wear things that say something to people.
If I interject, before we got into the break, you made a very profound statement about why you're doing this, and profit isn't everything. And I think what I want to add on to that, or maybe clarify to the audience, there's a key word I think you left out is patience. You have a plethora of patience, and I think that's what makes the relationship successful. So it's not that, well, listen, everybody needs money to live. So it's not like you don't need money or that's not on your list. But I think you're in a place in your life where you're patient and you want to see the results and you're willing to go through the trials and tribulations and ups and downs to get there. And that's one of the components that make this relationship, you and I, extremely successful.
Let me give you a little correction, because I'm actually not a very patient person.
But you are.
No. I'm gonna say this. What I have been able to do, and I don't know whether this comes with age. I don't know whether this comes with wisdom, because age does not necessarily equal wisdom. But I have learned that things don't happen exactly the way you want,
Correct.
and they don't happen in the time that you want. But if you set your intentions from the door and then have a trajectory of where you want to end up, whether it takes 2 years, 5 years, or 10 years, if you're consistently beating that, your intention all the way through. And I always tell my students is perfection is a process. I'm actually sitting in the process because along the way I'm learning. You got on the airplane to check out some farmers to see about some cotton. It's like I'm watching you, get on airplanes and go to different places. I watched you before the tariffs buy reams of fabric
Yeah.
so that we can make what we can. I mean, that the foresight of that, you're like, this might come, but it's not going to affect us because we have all of the materials, because I know now what you like. So I made sure we had enough to be able to produce things. And in this last drop, you sent me hundreds of pieces of clothes that I'm like, wow. And I had to wear all of them and feel them. And I know, as Armani makes transition, I don't know how much she put into, the brand, but we have all of these labels, the Gucci's and the Versace's and all of the things that we rap about and sing about, Chanel and all of the stuff. But who's us? There's Actively Black, of course, but the global majority, to me, and what we're coming with next, I wanted it I wanted everybody, anybody, it's kind of wild. One of the first people to wear the global majority was Smiths, because, we were having, he was wearing hot Harriet Tubman with pride. And I'm like, he was like, all right. And he was looking forward to getting the next one. Do you know what I'm saying? And Smiths didn't have a whole lot of melanin. So that to me kind of knitted that this, if we do this right, can be the kind of thing that brings people together.
What the evolution we are today, first of all, what makes the brand is the thought-provoking concepts that you create. Our collection makes people think, makes people feel good, makes people look inside themselves. Those are things that gather the attention. The other side of the component is making sure that we are a clothing brand. which is more than just a t-shirt. And I think what Black excellence between you and I is we want to be able to expand this where there's no difference between us or a Ralph Lauren. And that's exactly what we're doing. So for example, with the active collection for both men and women, if you want to use, I hate using other companies, but if you want to use Lululemon as an example, our collection, out of my mouth to your ears, same level better. And that's something that Karen and I both believe in, is that when you spend money with us, it isn't a necessity. It is a thought. It is an action that comes from your heart. And so from us, from myself and from Karen, we want to make sure when you go into your pocketbook and you decide to write that check, use your credit card, when you get that product in your hand, we want you to be like, holy crap, this thing is the best thing I've ever received. And that's our goal. And that's our mantra. And so now when you marry philosophy of being thought-provoking, provocative, when you're marrying that to excellence in clothing, that's why the global majority is exploding, because it's the excellence, the thought process, and the wonderful marriage of two brilliant people, yourself and myself, coming together. And I think this is what makes it exciting. And to go back to your thought, and everyone, the world is changing. Trump and cut off all these damn jobs. A lot of people now are unemployed, looking to become entrepreneurs. The first thing in order to be an entrepreneur is mindset. You got to change the mindset. You follow me? Like and again, from the beginning of time, I use this analogy. I was talking to one of your other counterparts on the network, is we have to go back into that hunter mentality, right? Which means, what I mean by hunter mentality is that in order for entrepreneurs, you have to get up and search for your food, figure out how you're going to kill it, cook it, preserve it, eat, rest for 5 minutes, and get up and do it all over again. And once you shift into that process, then the entrepreneur spirit becomes easy to deal with. So basically, it's managing the anxiety of the unknown. That's what entrepreneurs are, is anxiety of the unknown.
Yeah. When did you know Rick Martin is here? He's also doing some things with Lee Daniel Favors, which I'm happy about, because again,
correction,
yes. I was gonna say, when you find a good thing, you should share it. This is the thing that I'm always about. I think a lot of people would say, this is my relationship and I want to just keep it over here. But I'm like, this this is my network of people. I want everybody in this network to share in the goodness if they want to do something or imagine a thing. For you being an entrepreneur, and I am an entrepreneur. My daddy was an entrepreneur, but he also had a job. Like we would keep a job and be an entrepreneur at the same time. My father was a parole officer, and he also ran a grocery store in Newark. I've been teaching. I've taught for 25 plus years at Hunter College and NYU. I have a pension. I'm grateful. I'm quote unquote retired from teaching, but I kept me a job while I was out doing all of the other things, because that was what I was taught. In my house, you got to keep the benefits and all of the things to make sure you're stable while you're pursuing all these other things. Was that your method, or did you jump in out of Berkeley into being your own boss?
I don't think everyone has their own method. My method is confidence in self. Period. I think anybody out there listening, look yourself.
Well, I'm asking a specific question, Rick. Did you jump?
No, I'm telling you.
Jump right in?
I didn't. I think for me, my DNA.
You never had a job.
Oh,
job. Oh.
Yeah. When I was younger, I had a couple jobs, but
but I'm saying once you went to Berkeley, you came out. You said there was no hesitation. I'm going to run my own shop.
I say no, incorrect. When I got out of Berkeley, I went into advertising, and I worked at some of the biggest agencies in San Francisco. And I think what that did is allow me to hone my chops. Be able to get into a situation where you're understanding how a multi-million-dollar company works, how advertising works from that perspective. And then from there, you take those stories and elements, and now you apply it into your own movement. So I think, yes, Berkeley gave me a good education. Foucault Conan Belding gave me a great business acumen in advertising. And then I went ahead on my own. But going on my own, it goes back to, again, if you're leaving an advertising job, You know, that's $250,000 a year. You know, that's all. I mean, money's all relative.
Right.
Me,
Right.
I wasn't afraid to leave it.
Right. What did you know about leaving? You know, a lot of us, and entrepreneurship is not for everybody. It's not for most people, actually, because you do have to have a level of delusion and confidence. You know, you have to have a level of delusion in the sense that, you know, some things don't make sense, but you're going to do them anyway. But also this confidence that I'm going to figure out how to make this work because I can. Some of us go too far with the delusion, but there is, you know, when you're prepared, like I just asked his brother, do you have a degree in medical research or whatever? No, I don't. Okay, well, you might not be prepared to have this conversation because you don't, but you went to Berkeley and then you went to the advertising place and you learned, you know, how businesses were run. You know, me sitting at the Daily News for those 16 years, on the editorial board for 4 of those years, understanding the power base and what that looks like from a media standpoint, and then watching the rise of digital media and understanding how I can navigate those spaces and teach my young people what would come next. That was important. But you gathered all of these chips and then you went out on your own. It wasn't just, I have an idea and I'm going to do these things. You gathered enough intel to
Correct.
have the confidence to go out. It wasn't just, I'm giving up this $250,000 job because I'm dope, but I know what I'm doing. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's important because there's some young people listening right now that have amazing ideas, but they're not willing to sit in the sauce long enough to learn the things that they need to be successful.
True. I mean, I agree with that, but I also want to state that life is about access and opportunity, and a lot of us don't have either one of them. So if you're in a situation where you want to create your own business, but you don't have the luxury to going to a, you know, an Ivy League school or a top academic school, it doesn't mean you can't still be an entrepreneur. So that's why I'm kind of in that space where I'm like, I feel that regardless of your academic success, professional success, it still comes down to your self-confidence. Number one, because you have to be brave enough to deal with the reality of every 30 days, all of us adults now, every 30 days we have a report card called bills. Those bills don't give a goddamn about your feelings, about your hurt foot, your stomach, your diabetes. They don't give a damn about any of that. Every 30 days we got a report card called reality. That's the issue where can people deal with that? That's where it comes into the planning, the structure, the research. You know, how do you start? That's where the education comes in to prepare yourself for those challenges. You know what I'm saying? So if you want to start a company, okay, Karen has an idea to do a t-shirt. Okay, that's cool. Now let's make it profitable. So most people
Right.
realize before you even go ahead and start spending any money on anything, do your cost per unit analysis. What does it cost to make one? What
That's
does it
right.
cost to make 20? What does it cost to make 100? That's called scale. How do you scale it? So once if you get a hit, how do you scale it? Now, how do you make money, right? Let's just simplify it for everybody in the audience. Let's say your bills are $1,000, right? You have to start asking yourself, what are you worth, right? What's my time worth? How much I want to pay myself? So let's say your bills are $1,000. Let's say the cost to make your product is $1,000. So now your total overhead is $2,000, right? So now if you just double that, say, hey, you know, I want to make $2,000 a month for myself. So that's $4,000, right? So now you have to do is you do another analysis is what's going to be my break even? How many, if my shirt's at $10, how many shirts do I have to sell to break even at $4,000? What was that? 400. That's how you have to start thinking. And now if you realize, hey, I got to sell 400, but now guess what? Before you sell it, you got to make it. So you got to have that capital ready. So these are things that people need to understand is that there's definitely going to be a business acumen to your success, but there's a business acumen to every job. There's a business acumen to being, you know, at McDonald's on the fry station, right? There's a business acumen to everything that you do, but you just have to have the confidence to get out there and go do it.
Mm. 866-801-8255. Rick Martin is here. There's a new Global Majority drop, theglobalmajority.com. The Global Majority, globalmajority.com is where you will find it. It will be, so the drop is for a limited time. So it is from now, well, actually from Saturday to next Saturday.
Yep.
When it's done, is done. We close shop. It'll say sold out. It's not that it is sold out, but this is the time we're going to spend the next week and change producing and shipping out the next week after that all of the things that were ordered over the last 2 weeks. That's how a drop works. It's not like any other thing. Those of you who are already familiar with it through Telfar or whatever, you know what it is. For a lot of you, it's confusing. You're like, wait, I want the Stay Ready. Well, that drop was last drop. It's over. That's why I'm like, get what you can get when you get it. And I know everyone can't get everything, but when it's gone, it's gone. We may come back with a different version of it another time. But in my mind, I love the drop. Once you told me about it, this is all I wanted to do. And we do keep inventory, like if there's extra, but it's not made to order. So if you order a small, you're going to get your small, and you're going to be guaranteed to get your small, as opposed to not having a small at all. And it's not that it's sold out. It's just we didn't have any extra smalls or smalls that were extra. Let me do it that way.
Correct.
So it's not going to be available. But I think I love this because it also allows for collectors. So, you know, if you're one of the few thousand people that got a Stay Ready, nobody else is going to have this shirt. That's it. If you got an Octavia Butler, nobody else is going to have that shirt or that hoodie. That's it. That's it, you know. And Fannie Lou Hamer and Marcus Garvey, we came back with it to do that final push to and we also did a partnership with Dr. Julius Garvey with that one, which was really nice. But this gives us an opportunity to stick and move, you know.
If I can interject on that thought,
Yeah.
drops do two things. One, it makes the product special. Everyone can't get it. Once it's sold out, it's sold out. It makes it special. Now, like Karen said, it's definitely a collector's item. Makes you want to go get the next one. On the other side of the fence, it is an extremely proficient business model, because then we produce what's ordered, which I was explaining to Karen earlier. When you're sitting on inventory, you're sitting on debt. And right now, Karen and I, we don't have that kind of crystal ball to say how many people in the world are mediums, or how many people in the world are 2Xs. And so we take the element of guessing out of it. We don't hold the inventory. It allows the company to be profitable and really efficient. So that's the concept behind the drop, to give you something that's super special and to make sure our production and business model is extremely efficient.
We're ready. We're prepared. Do not give in to fear. We are fearless. This is not the time to be afraid. This is a time to stand up and fight back, and to resist any temptation for them to divide us. We're in this together. The rule of law is on our side. We will not give in, not give up. We will not capitulate. We will not bow. We will not bend. We will